Good afternoon and welcome to this sole editorial roundtable on succession and career planning in enterprise IT as part of the 22nd annual CIO Leader Conference. I am Shamanuja Das, Editorial Director, Enterprise Technology Group at 9.9 and your moderator for the session. In the 2 days full of technologies from cloud to networking, AI, analytics to security, this is the only session that we have on this important aspect of a CIO's responsibility, managing talent, building succession planning. We recently did a survey on a related area in which some of you participated. That was, of course, not on the core issues because in a quantitative survey like that, it is difficult to get that insight. In fact, in my presentation yesterday, which was based on that survey, I had outlined the big questions that the survey revealed and had requested the audience to listen to today's RT for the answers and call to action. And so I'll keep referring to that as I ask questions 2-3 times at least. I'll not take much time now and we'll straight away go to the discussion. But before that, let me read out the names of all the panelists who have consented to be part of the discussion. We have Mr. Anjani Kumar, Chief Information Officer, Strides Pharma. Mr. Atanu Pramanik, Joint President and CIO, Hindalco, has not yet joined, but he has promised he would join. Mr. Grish Jairath, former Global Head of IT, ITC Infotech. Mr. Rajiv Sikka, Chief Information Officer, Medanta. Mr. Sanjay Prasad, CIO, RPGC. Mr. Vijay Sethi, Chairman, MentorCard and former CIO and Head of HR and CSR, Hero Motor Corp. Mr. Vinod Bhatt, CIO, Vistara. So welcome to you all. Thanks for joining me. And a big hello to our audience who are watching it live. So probably it is time to get into the discussion. And Atanu has also joined. Yes. So welcome, Atanu. Can you switch on your video?
Yeah, sure. Hi.
Yeah, hi. So yes, we have the full quorum, the full house. So we're just beginning. I had just read out the intro. Not much, but that's a formality that you know. So let's get into the actual discussion now. So I'll start with Mr. Vijay Sethi. He has been, interestingly, in our discussion today, there are some, all are or have been CIOs, but at least there are 2 who have also worked in IT industry, and at least 1 who has also been in charge of human research. So I think it will be a nice discussion. So my first question is to Mr. Sethi, who was also holding the HR portfolio in his previous assignment. Between January to today, we in CIO and Leader have carried appointment news of 53 CIOs who have been appointed. I'm talking only the CIOs. The number 1 was not CISOs or any other. And out of that, 5 have been promoted or been moved from one division or one to the CIO position. That leaves 48 who have been hired from outside. So I am not making any proposition. I'm just asking you an open question. So what does this indicate, Mr. Sethi?
What does this indicate? So good afternoon, first of all, and thank you very much for inviting me onto this panel. So this indicates a lot of things if you really analyze it. Number 1, those 48 organizations didn't find anybody within their own organization who could be made this year. And that's a sad state, which means that CIOs themselves are not grooming their successors very well. Number 2, I think there's a different thing that if 53 people have or 56 people have changed, that means there's a huge churn in the CIO community. That's the second thing which I can actually figure out of this entire thing. And that too during pandemic phase, as you said, in last few months, which was also the phase when the hiring was less. Third, I don't know the details of these 56 people, but when there's not enough being done from grooming the second line, which can eventually take over, and you said people took over from other divisions and things like that. I think what CIOs or organizations, it's not just CIOs, so responsibility of succession planning is not just with the CIO, but with the entire organization. It also depends on the culture of the organization as to how you really want to take your people to a different level. So the organizations also need to look at from their culture perspective as to are they wanting to groom their own internal people. And we know that there are a lot of organizations in India which today are actually can be proudly said that they are the factories of building managers for corporate India, including themselves. So, but if you have 48 guys who are taking people maybe from those factories or somewhere else, that means these 48 guys may not be, I don't know the names of these 48 companies, but many of them may not be the factories themselves. So companies do need to ensure, because if you groom an internal person, the advantage is that he or she also is aware of the culture of the organization. Also, there's a motivation for that individual that yes, tomorrow I can reach that position. So those are the kind of first cut thoughts that I have on this, Shanti.
Okay, so I had this question a little later, some question follow, but I think since you have brought in, so let me turn to Mr. Vinod Bhatt. I did a story, I think 2-3 months back in March, April. As we journalists, we kind of hype up things, even if we find 3-4 examples, we try to call it a trend. So that apart, so is TCS becoming a CIO factory? Okay. So that is immediately after Mr. Bhatt had joined. Okay, and so I had given some 4-5 examples in the last 3-4 years. So that apart, see, my question is. See, India has this TCS or any company. India has some of the world-class IT services company. I think Mr. Sikka also comes from the industry. So why is that it is more of a round, what they say, musical chair when it comes to CIOs, and why that, as well as other industries where, as Mr. Sethi said, not being tapped. And what do you think is that you have spent the entire thing? You have probably this is your first enterprise IT on a user side. So, what is something that you think in your assessment that you bring in and you lack, you are learning? And my bigger question, of course, so that is for you. But my bigger question is, can this be effectively tapped? And if yes, how?
Okay, first of all, good afternoon and thanks for having me on this forum, and hope everybody is safe and healthy. I would probably put a few thoughts on the table. See, if we first focus on, I think you brought up the TCS, whether it's at IT, CIO factory and all, I would probably give a perspective a little bit more who have not spent a lot of time in IT, that what kind of exposure the leadership has there, particularly who are managing the business, who are the business heads. So typically if the span of the career is more than 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, you get an opportunity to work in multiple verticals. I think that is the first advantage. You are in consulting. It's not only, for example, retail, insurance, pharma, healthcare, CPG, and so on and so forth. So once you focus on that, if you look at the IT trends have changed dramatically over the last, I would say, 10 years, though the pandemic has accelerated the digital transformation. But last 10 years, we have seen it that our customers, when I was in consulting, were keen to see that how IT can be an enabler for their business. They were never asking us that, tell me about this technology. They were only asking us that how this technology can help me. For example, if it's a supply chain, it is a marketing, it is front end, back end, name it, all the areas. So with that, as a business unit head, you are not only managing the P&L, you are actually managing the business from the other side of the table. So exactly know that what pain points of the business are and what they're aspiring. For example, if they are growing, if they are websites, if they are e-commerce, any of the manufacturing plants, connected IT. So all the things you exactly experience, you live with it. And not only that, you actually are putting your neck on the line that will deliver it for you, because you sign up the SLAs, you sign up the contract. So you actually cannot say that, I will be only a high-level manager delivering the services. So that gives you a tremendous exposure in terms of what kind of life our customers used to live. So in other words, if you have to really summarize it, you really get a training ground naturally. If you are at a business leadership level where you get to interact with the customer CXOs, whether it's chief marketing officer, chief digital officer, CIO, and name it. So you kind of tend to shadow them or even lead. Most of the time you lead them on the consulting side of it. So yes, broadly, if you look at it, yes, if there's a seasoned company like TCS where they have got strategic customers, Fortune 100, Fortune 50 customers, you kind of get groomed automatically. So it's not a new thing that once you flip on the other side of the table, that you have to now understand what business is. I think that is, probably given. So from that perspective, I did not personally also feel any change, honestly, because we have been traveling throughout the world. So we have spent more than 15 years outside India, across the globe. So from exposure point of view, it becomes a natural choice, from the CIO grouping perspective. So on this side of the table, when you are living this life, I think you have to look at different angles now. You are actually owning the business now. And from the agenda perspective, from the succession planning perspective, what are the things which are important for the organizations? I think my first thoughts are that we need to have a good leadership bench strength. I think that should be a conscious effort. And we need to take our thought process in the direction that what kind of business are we in? Can we really groom more internal people? And that should be obviously our first preference, that as Mr. Vijay Sethi also said, that it should be our first preference. But there are times when, because of technology change, because of new business, when you don't have people who can actually hit the road running. There is where you need to go outside and see that who are the industry experts who have run these businesses, so that they can augment and complement your business. I think that makes things little easier, and that brings a lot of perspective or diversity to the team when the person joins that organization, and your succession planning actually strengthens a lot more when you get that kind of diverse leadership on the table. I'll take a pause here.
So yeah, so the valid point. So for what comes out is, of course, he talked about TCS, because he has been thoroughly in TCS, and I think we have expect that if not 30 such companies, we have 3-4 such companies at least, and even some MNCs who are working, which can be looked at, for so one of the things is another thing, a small question, I think, if anyone can is that see, apart from that industry, and in some say some developed markets, people also come from IT industry. IT means all the suppliers. See, there are also people from other functions who move to CIO roles. Here we have seen a very few examples of CIO taking up additional other roles, like Mr. Sethi, like Mr. Uppal, and a few others, and some have moved. But except for very few companies, I have not seen, other function, especially I see a lot of CAs actually as CIO. I don't know what is the connection in when I was doing some in the Fortune top companies, whatever data I could get. So, or other functions. So we don't see that in India at all. So why is that? Maybe Atanu, you can take it up.
Yeah, sure, Shyam. So very pertinent question, and probably if I can draw my own experience on that. Okay, I have not been a long timer in the last 10 years for the situation, but every time I had to change the organization, I kind of replaced an internal CIO who was by the background where either CAs or an internal candidate by chance, right? So exactly what you mentioned, and I was kind of waiting for you to pick up this point is what Mr. Sethi and Mr. Bhatt has mentioned. One is obviously rightly mentioned, we have within India multiple multinational IT companies who gives that exposure, like as Mr. Bhatt mentioned, which is rightly so. But on the other side, companies also, I think many companies within India specifically have risen to the fact pretty late that IT is a business enabler rather than IT is a cost center, right? This is where probably one will need to kind of focus. And I think companies have started focusing right now, pretty late in the game, but I think companies are trying to catch up, that rather than putting a person who has been within the organization and quote unquote doesn't have any other role to play, put him as CIO. The position is open, right? It's just a cost center, laptop, desktop, a few applications, and that's it. Now the companies have started realizing that if you get the right profile in that box, you can get much more out of it, right? And that has kind of pushed the companies to go out, search for the right candidate, and put them for the right job. And that is more happening right now. If you just took an example of CAs, I actually myself have on record replaced CAs in the last two organizations who had been the earlier CIOs, right? They had been 25 years in the organization. Again, I mean, nothing good or nothing bad. I'm just trying to discuss the trend, right? This is what has happened. I mean, the companies have realized that right now, in the current context, probably more into the pandemic era, that unless you have the right skills and the background from the technology perspective, from the, I would say, the marriage of technology and business, which Mr. Bhatt has rightly mentioned and Mr. Sethi was also highlighting, is important for the business, rather than keeping someone, quote unquote, just filling that box and then running the lights on for the next years, right? So that's the change in the paradigm that is happening. Hope it gets more insights, more push.
Okay, thank you. Since you brought over this, so we will go into training and all full place, because and that is where I have some data from the survey. But before that, again, probably I like maybe Anjani to comment. See,
Go ahead.
I again it is I'm keeping it an open question. In 93%, I think you have also responded in that survey. 93% of CIOs said they have 3 or more direct reports. Even though about a third said they have a clear number 2. So I would like you to comment on this. What do you make out of this, if at all? See, one thing is, of course, the survey, it is hardly some 60 plus CIOs, so very small base anyway. So that's keep that apart. So assume that there is something in the survey. So just your response to that.
Good afternoon, everybody. I think before I respond to this question, I'll comment on what Vijay made a statement. And since I come from 14 years in IBM global roles before I moved to CIO role, I agree with him when he said, when you are in services company, you have a lot of exposure and different role shadowing. But at the same time, cultures are so different and responsibilities are so different. Many people struggle, and there are, if n number of people have come, and by 2/3 of that have struggled in CIO roles, and off the record we have talked about, and what are the nuances that we can talk. It is a topic in itself, right? Coming back to what you asked, that if you look at succession planning, any organization, most of the matured organization have succession planning, not just for CIO but all leadership levels, right? And you have companies like ICICI where 3 ladies become CEO of 3 different companies just by sheer succession planning. And then, as Mr. Sethi talked about, there are several companies which is struggling to fill even a CIO position, correct? And two, 3 reasons for it. One, I think Atanu talked about it. Basically, previously CIO was looked at as a system systems manager, nothing more than that. It was not a strategic position. It was not a boardroom position. It was not a differentiator. So they did not understand the business. Some of them might have just because of their interest, but role-wise, it was not. And your successor learns what you are doing. So there was actually, for the name's sake, people were putting the successor, but it was not a true successor. And I have seen in multiple companies, correct? Today, if you look at it, you call it 1-year succession planning, 2-year succession planning, and 5-year succession planning. Most companies have it, right? But if you look at the skill gap is not that much. But if you look at leadership maturity, collaboration, there is a lot of a skill gap. Unfortunately, companies are not doing enough and fast enough to fill that gap. At one point of time, you are identifying, oh, this is your successor, but he is overloaded with the work. He doesn't have, and he is not given enough CXO mentoring. He is not given enough coaching and external training to go there. And that is where you are finding the gaps, and most companies are going externally. And what does that mean is the second level now changes and goes to another smaller company as a CIO. So your whole succession planning goes for the toss, right? So that's the cycle. That's where I would want to stop, and I probably will talk about a skill and other things.
No, very interesting practical point, Pratap. So let me put this to Mr. Sikka. And see, Rajiv, see, of course, one of the things that you come from the services industry, I think Mr. Bhatt has addressed that. So I'm not getting into there. When you do planning, succession planning, especially in the role CIO, where forget CIO, the IT's role in business is changing, and you know there is a good CIO in place, and so you don't do that always. Yes, if some one is a backup, the other is successor. Okay, so you will look at a little long-term period. Okay, and so there, in any manager position, in anything, what works today, what are the qualities today, may not be the top requirement. Of course, there are certain things that will remain, and everyone knows that. Okay, but so maybe I can ask you, if you are indulging in such an exercise, how would you go about it? What are the new skills that you will look at? Okay, without getting too much in detail into technicalities of skill. So, and how will that drive the succession planning? Or is it that someone who is exactly like me, maybe a little less experience and more or less like me, who can replace me? Okay, that is one thing. No, someone has to take up my job after say 6 to 7 years. So how that person should be? So these are two different things, right?
So, you very rightly said that. I think, if one thing is, there are two things which are given. So I'm not going to divulge. One, the CIO or CTO should know the tech. So because that's his core. Second thing is that he should have definitive business process knowledge of the domain or the industry vertical which he is servicing. So this is given. But apart from these, according to me, there are 4 areas in which CIO should possess leadership skills. One, a culture of continuous improvement. He should not think that this is done and this is just it, and there are no improvements which are bound to come. So most of us, at times think that this is our baby and this is the perfect baby, and this should not be, this is constant. This can't change. So this should not be the culture. Second thing is that, we all think that tech is great, but I'm of the strong opinion that its right application or its application is more important than the tech itself. So as a CIO and CTO, we should always focus on the right solutioning part rather than the tech part. Tech is never sexy. Solution is sexy. Third thing which I believe is that I think we should always focus of our respective customer as the core and customer, like in case of a typical hospital is a patient, which is an external entity. But at the same time, your partners, your suppliers are also customers. And especially in a larger industry vertical, especially when you talk about motor vehicles and other stuff, your suppliers play an important role. And internal, like in case of hospital, your doctors, your nurses, employee at large, are your internal customers. If you're able to cater to them, is the third thing which is important. And last thing which is very important is that, as CIO and CTO should build trusted relationship across multiple layers. Why it is important is that because your engagement, becomes more important with them. And when you're taking critical decision in any milestone of the journey, there are people who will support you. There are people who will guide you. There are people, even if you do a murder, they will say that, don't worry, we'll escort you out. So according to me, a culture of continuous improvement, focusing on solution, think customer at the center, and fourth, build trusted relationship. These are the four core CIOs, I will say, the principal should have, apart from the tech and the functional knowledge.
Thank you, Raji. So I think what you talked about, you said tech, and of course that's given, and you said the process knowledge of your business should be there. So let me turn to Mr. Sanjay Prasad. So it is not exactly a succession planning question, but we have actually done a cover on this story also. When we did that, whether CIOs should have a vertical specialization. So we found that majority, and some of you are examples of that, majority said that no, it doesn't have to be. Okay. So on one hand, we are saying, yes, it is more business, CIO role is increasingly business role. So do you think that whether that's a must, whether it helps to have get someone from the same vertical, or it doesn't really matter?
So thank you, Shamanujan, for inviting me to this very interesting panel, albeit on a Saturday afternoon. I would, since many of us have already spoken, I just wanted to pick up a couple of cues before responding to your specific point. And one is, Vijay mentioned about that succession planning is obviously the responsibility not only of the CIO, but the organization, entire organization. And I would also underpin the candidates who are for the succession planning, because in most of the companies that I have worked in, a large part of your career progression responsibility is given to the individual themselves, the managers themselves. If they don't show the hunger for a particular role, that is one ingredient that the superior, that is your CIO or whoever the CXO is, needs to see that, yes, the person that I'm grooming in really has the appetite. So most of your appraisal time decisions, and let's be very clear, here we know how appraisals happen, in a particular span of time, you have to fill the stuff up, and very little time is given to actually talk about, what training programs. You see some boxes and you pick them up because you have to fill up the form, it has to be processed, and HR is after you, and so on. So in the lineup to the final appraisal process, I actually spent a lot of time in looking at 1 downs and 2 downs with what they actually wanted to do in the next 3 to 5 years, both in the functional area as well as in the technical area. And that also gave me a lot of comfort and confidence to really see that, am I picking up the right orange or the right apple? Because if this step is not taken correctly, then you will regret later on that I have not left a good legacy behind. So that's one point. Second was, I just take up Vinod's point because I'm also a TCS alumnus, and it also links with the point that you just talked about, the vertical specialization. So I had done my stints in automotives and FMCG companies in the past, and then when I moved to TCS, I had actually a dual role. I was running in a TCS context, a very small P&L, about 250 crores, and also doing the role of a CIO for its BPO organization. So obviously, BPO organization means you're addressing multiple verticals as your customers, and in terms of you're doing a P&L role, then obviously you have to choose one way or the other. You can't be both on the, and Vinod knows this, that you can't be on a horizontal, organization as well as do a P&L vertical role in a very structured, large organization like TCS. So I took that opportunity of moving to the CTO's office, which brought two things. One is it looked at all the verticals at the same time, and it did look at operational problems that you want to solve today. So it really gave me a very systematic way of looking at innovation, a conundrum itself, because you don't systematically look at innovation. And I never ever thought about what a patent was. So even at the ripe age of nearing 50, I ended up fueling the passion for innovation and how to create patents in a systemic manner. And in that process, I ended up filing 2 patents myself. And 5 years back, previous to that, I didn't know what a patent was in a very definitive sense of the word. So here you are, and while doing work in these multiple organizations, because of my graduation specialization in electrical engineering, which you always thought something that you wanted to do, which ended up in little bit of bits and bytes, but not the core electrical. I ended up in Tata Power, and so this is another point that Vinod was talking that IT factory. So if you look at TCS, yes, even today it probably has 6 CIOs within the Tata organization. So when I moved into Tata Power, and there I had to really hone myself up, because I was looking at it from a service provider perspective, one of the verticals, and then you have to really put a lot of effort, learning, self-development to really understand what the power business is about. And it was an integrated utility. And in a manner of my own career movement, that helped me obviously in taking the next step, which was again continuing with a power group, gaining some locational advantage at a personal level, being my hometown. So it's at a personal level, obviously you need to work on your own succession, where you're a successor, you need to work on that planning and as well as career progression. At the same time, verticalization does help. Now, how does one look at it in a person who's worked in a couple of verticals and also has a wider view of several other verticals? Because today you don't know from which angle a particular vertical is going to compete with. Tomorrow a utility can be a retailer. The way if deregulation happens, so one has to look at it from an FMCG retail perspective, your consumer fraternity. So therefore, it does help being verticalized, but at the same time, one needs to bring in the broader perspective so that one could see the adjacencies and be able to contribute, which a person working in a particular vertical for X number of years, deep domain experience, may not be able to see outside the funnel at that point of time. So that's what many hiring organizations also look at, that yes, some vertical specialization. And as Rajiv mentioned, knowing your IT is a prerequisite. That's the baseline. And at the same time, you should be able to bring in adjacencies from the speed and rigor that a bank is able to provide to you as an individual, or an FMCG or retail organization, which is supposed to give you the concept of how to look at a consumer. So that probably is a mix, in a way, a verticalization plus some adjacencies and experiences across other verticals. So which brings a little more holistic view in how we can serve the organization and its own customers.
Okay, thanks a lot. So before we go into open discussion, let me ask Mr. Grish. See, one of the things is that CIOs have been traditionally excellent problem solvers. Now, one of the discussion I was hearing, it was somewhere, it was not an Indian discussion, but I think it is quite valid, or probably more valid in the Indian context. See, there they were talking the people who manage IT for organization. For them, first there is the business problem which is defined, and then they create a solution. The good ones, they create a solution to that problem. Okay. Now organizations are increasingly looking at what I call often use case regime. Okay. Yes, blockchain is coming. So what can it do for our business? AI is coming, is there. What can it do for our business? And there are so many new emerging technology where you have to start with the technology and then say, yes, how it can create value for our business. So that requires not, of course, it requires thorough understanding of business. It requires understanding of technology, but it requires that you should be very, very familiar with what is happening outside when it comes to emerging technology and how your industry is, applying it, not just in India, wherever it is. So some kind of, outside in perspective, and not just knowing the processes of your business, but also knowing what is happening in industry as far as technology is concerned, not just your competitor who may not be, maybe other countries, maybe other markets, wherever, and sometimes even think, even if there is no example to follow, think how it can be applied to my business, which requires you to understand the landscape very well, and then try your thinking to apply it to your business. So what is your comment? So do you think this is happening or this is becoming a requirement in India also?
So Shyam, I missed you in between. I think there was some network issue, but if you can maybe just summarize.
Yeah. So what I'm asking is, see, now with emerging technologies, people want to first they get excited about technologies, and they know that definitely some value can be created for my business, and that is what the expectation from the top managers are. So is that something that requires not just understanding tech and your business processes, but also look at the emerging technology landscape and think of how it can be applied to your business? Is that something becoming more significant? Earlier also it has always been there, but in a very, very significant manner.
So Shyam, first of all, thank you, and thank you for inviting me to the panel, this team panel. No, I completely agree. And the way technology is moving today, while I think all the other panelists talked about understanding the domain knowledge, I think it's equally important to understand the business what we are driving today, and that is the key when we go back to manage our own stakeholders and the respective employees. Now, in today's world, CIOs, CTOs are also being enabled or also part of stakeholder management for even doing large deals with a customer, and that I have seen personally wherein we have expertise, domain knowledges through a data center, through AI, through blockchain, which is more specific to what we do today. It is imperative that the same knowledge, the same use case, the same expertise can be extended back to all the customers. So absolutely right. That is very important. Understanding the technicalities of it and bringing the expertise and to the larger forum, to the customer, and providing a respective solution to them.
Okay, thank you. So let me now ask an open question to the entire panel. Maybe I'll start with Mr. Sethi, because he has been there, done that. Okay, on the HR side as well. A simple question: is there anything at all called succession planning in enterprise IT in large organizations in India? And if yes or no, whatever your answer is, if yes, how can it be more streamlined, better? If no, how can it be done? So that's a question to everyone. Maybe I'm just starting in.
We take this lead here. While we look at any career aspiration, there are levels and expertise required to meet that particular role. Okay, and CIO and CTO is a similar role wherein you need set of capabilities to meet it. Now, while we have tried identifying resources internally to do that, and the best person is, as we rightly mentioned, is to find somebody internally suitable for these roles, either to create a bench who are equally capable, or somebody who have different mindset to adapt to take decisions for these technologies. But on practical level, they still need high focus.
No. See, the reason I started with Mr. Sethi is that, one is, as a CIO, you might be thinking, he's a good guy, so maybe I'll train him. So as organization, and that is my point, as organizations, okay, maybe the CIO will do the most of the work, okay. But as organization, is there thinking that there needs to be leaders in this? Because I'm very sure in certain functions, they are creating leadership, okay. But in IT, that it is important or it is okay. So we'll hire. There are so many out there in other good companies. So we'll get someone.
Let me answer this way. So there are few organizations, I won't say huge, but there are few organizations who really care for succession planning. So they do actually look at number two, especially from CIO perspective, try to groom that person and see that if this person, I don't think succession planning goes up to level N minus 5, 6, 7. It doesn't go at that level, but at least from a CIO perspective, they do look at some people. And there are times when it does fail is because if it is just left to CIO, the CIO tends to look at that person from his or her own eyes and sees that if this person is like me, then maybe this person can become a CIO, which may not be the right thing. But the second piece is if the organizations really identify the person and groom that person, groom beyond tech, because grooming a person on technology is the easiest of the things. Moment you move from N-2 to the CXO level, you also have to, while you have the technology hat, but you have to leave the technology piece to a large extent and get into a leadership perspective. And that's where most of the succession plannings fail, because you don't groom your people into becoming good leaders. And that becomes an issue. And when even the CIO, that's why I started in the beginning that CIO should not be the only one who's responsible for grooming that guy. Because CIOs many times do not groom the person from a leadership skills perspective. Whereas when it comes from an external, maybe an HR or other functions, then beyond the person knowing what AI is all about or what any other technology can do for you, but how moment you become that, how you would behave as a leader, how would you really talk to a CMO, how would you talk to a CFO, what would you do, how those guys really think about the business value of IT, not just the tech value of IT. And that really becomes an issue. And that's when the rubber hits the road. And when you are really finding a CIO, you see that maybe this guy is technically brilliant and I need him to run all my systems, but he's not the CIO material for me. Let me go out and find somebody from some external person. And that really becomes an issue in a lot of organizations.
Okay, interestingly, a question has come from audience. There is from Mr. Pawan Roy, and it is in succession planning area. So let me read out the question. CIO succession planning, his role of HR or CIO, that I think we have discussed. CIO will not develop successor because there is no further role to promote himself to next level. I think it is a risk for himself. Once CIO will leave, company has no choice to fill internally, so has to look outside only. Very practical.
I just add one thing on this. Sorry for this, but I genuinely believe that a lot of times people don't focus on, many leaders don't focus on succession because they are too scared of their own job. That's why I don't want to develop. So that what Pawan is saying over here is actually right in a lot of organizations. I tend to agree.
So I'll ask this question to Anjani. I'll ask this question to slightly the next generation. So tell me, Anjani.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen this, right? So I am not saying that this does not exist. But again, when it comes to the newer generation, so it also depends on how secure you feel in the organization, how confident you are yourself as a leader of your skills, right? How confident you are if I prepare the next level, I might be kicked out of the job and I might find a job, right? All these things does play the role. So yeah, I have a mixed reaction on this. There are some organ and very specific. Some people, they won't do it, but I have also seen many CIOs and even other business leaders actually creating succession planning, because you can grow up or you could become a group CIO in many of the company where there is a group. So that's my take.
No. See, that is also, one thing. We have Mr. Sethi, which is example, and Mr. Uppal, as I said. See, the thing is that good CIOs people want to keep. So if in terms of IT, that kind of visible growth is not there. They know these are capable managers. They give them other responsibility as well, right? So that also happens. It is not always that the CIO will become group CIO or something bigger in the tech role itself. Giri has a question, my colleague. Why are large organizations in India not hiring international CIOs? Well, there are a couple of exceptions, but by and large, it is a valid question. So anyone who wants to take this.
I think on a lighter side, Girish, they should give opportunity for India CIS to continue. but I think no, as you rightly mentioned, some of the organizations do that, and I think from a potential perspective, they are very, very, very well graded CIOs in the community, and who have been doing excellent into their particular roles. I think it's particularly about the match, the cultural fittings into the organization, how we work.
No. So just sorry for interrupting. See, the thing is by international, I don't know what Giri means. International, I'm not talking of fair skin or anything or different nationalities. There are so many Indians, whether it is in industry, whether it's CIO, in the Fortune 100 companies, I think there are 12 to 13 CIOs who are Indians. Okay, so there are CIOs, there are enough Indians, and they're first generation guys. It is not that they are like have been in America for 3 generations. So it is by international doesn't mean that you have to get an American national or a Australian national, even Indians.
Syamanu, just 1 point.
Sorry, let me attempt this question.
Sure.
Having spent a few years in MNCs also, classically what the type of role that you spoke of, that actual Indians who are working abroad would actually have an opportunity of working as CIOs here. So MNCs used to do that if there was a global rollout, and you needed somebody to understand the culture of the organization, the geography that you're operating in, as well as the initiative that you were involved in internationally. So there it made sense for somebody to come in and, he's coming back to his own country. Earlier, it was not so much of an incentive to come back to your own country, say about 25 years back. But now almost it's a level playing field. You don't have that compensation arbitrage as wide as it used to be earlier. So now it's actually quite a attractive place to be back in, provided you have that understanding of how the global perspective the MNC runs. From an Indian company, what I've seen is these are only possible where you're not able to fill up your roles internally as for the reasons that were discussed earlier in the panel. You would get somebody who wants to come back home and bring in that extra edge of having worked globally and maybe in some leading edge deployments. But at the same time, being an Indian is understanding of the culture here in India. And it is now easier to fit those individuals from a comp perspective nowadays, because as I said, the differences are not that much. So we would probably see more and more happening of Indians trying to return from abroad and settle down in India.
I think Anjani was looking at saying something, and in his case, it is okay. I'll not say. Let him say.
Yeah. See, I will tell you. When I was in US till 2011, I hardly saw an Indian origin CIO in US companies. Today, if you look at it, I hit very often the Indian CIOs, correct? But at the same time, so I agree that there will in the future more will come, but whatever I have seen 5-6 cases in Indian CIO context, people have come from US to India. It is not that US or Europe to India. In most cases, it has not worked out. Again, reason has been people's expectation, understanding the culture and adapting to Indian culture. Ultimately, you have to work with Indian promoters, you have to work with Indian workforce. So unless you could bring the good points from there and try to adapt out to the local culture, it's very difficult to work out. So probably
there have been country IT directors. That's a different proposition. But yes, CIO of an Indian. See, I think I'll go to Mr. Bhatt. I'll just show one slide. Okay.
Tanu wanted to say something.
So sorry.
You're on mute.
Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of add a couple of points. One is, definitely I agree with Anjani and others that taking international Indians back to Indian organization or Indian MNCs, there is a kind of a gap in the culture. But on the earlier point, Shamanuja, what you were telling, that probably it is not only CIOs succession planning. I've not seen many Indian companies even planning their CEOs and MD succession. right? So it's kind of a, I would say, a cultural aspect of Indian companies, where just by the virtue of being, I don't know whether being scared or kind of insecure about their own roles, it doesn't happen normally. But again, Indian MNCs do that, while Indian companies not necessarily do that. It's a fact. It's there for all of us to see, right? So it's not only CIOs, Indian MNCs, while they do it, but Indian companies, you can see seldom they do any succession planning at any level. So there are a mix of things, both the sides.
So this, yes, coming to this, succession planning, one related thing. See, I'll just show you one slide. One sec. So can you see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah. So earlier we used to, in all professions, we had this thing, whether CIOs are born or made. Okay. Now the question is whether CIOs are trained to be born, made, or can be trained. Okay. So now this is also from that survey. So two separate questions I put in one slide. Is training needed to prepare CIOs? So that is not surprising. So more than three-fourths say that what you need is both experience and training, and 21%, that's also a significant number, that training is absolutely crucial. They keep somewhat more importance to training, and only 2% say that experience only is good enough. Okay, so that means there is a, by and large, forget that percentage, by and large there is a need, there is a realization that there is need for training. And when asked what type of training, this was surprising. The first one was not so. An integrated intensive capsule program designed for future CIOs is 2/3 CIOs say that that's needed, which was a little surprising for me. So at least Ajay. So how do you see this? What is your comment on? And so as we say, succession planning, this is one aspect. Of course, there are so many aspects to is training. Well, can you have short, long, whatever, the intensive programs to make CIOs? People CIOs seem to be saying so.
Absolutely.
Question, Shamanji, if I just can start this.
Yeah.
It's a good question. I mean, do we have, or have we seen any such capsule training for CIOs in the industry yet? I don't know. I mean, it's probably any of us can comment on that, right? And another subtle point that I wanted to bring up, anyone can comment, which came to my mind in the earlier discussion as well, is probably when we are talking of international CIOs or the cultural fit or the internal CIOs being groomed or kind of created the succession planning, many companies, while I see, is an executive CIO and head of IT. These are the two different roles that is there coming very prevalent nowadays, right? An executive CIO who will represent the board or rather be the business guy, and on the ground there will be a head of IT who will do the, I will not say the dirty job, but who will do all the kind of day-to-day job, right? This another aspect that I'm seeing in many of the organizations today.
Okay, so I was going to Mr. Bhatt for a reason, because the industry that he comes from, this training is like no one actually will ask a survey question like this, that like given that like day-to-day living they require this. Okay, so maybe that's why I wanted to get his perspective.
Yeah, I will probably give two perspectives. One is, if you forget CIO for a minute and talk about a leader. Let's talk about that. How are the leaders grouped?
CIO and leader, yeah.
Yeah, CIO and leader. So how are the CIOs and leaders grouped? If you look at large organizations, groups like Tata's, they have dedicated leadership institutes internally. And these institutes are benchmarked against the best of the best in terms of content, in terms of faculty, in terms of training. You will see Harvard professors training the small capsules. You will see internal trainings. You will see vendor trainings. You name it. And these are continuous. It's a university itself, internal. I feel that plays a huge role, and that is meant for the leaders of the future. And it gives you a perspective, not necessarily from the technology perspective. Technology you will pick up. you will pick up from your vertical, from your company. But the kind of exposure it gives you to the worldly problems, the worldly, I would say, issues a leader faces when the person is in that job, and asks you to solve those issues. And those are not academic trainings. These are the real use case trainings, where you are asked to live that life for that day or for that hour, and asked to present your thoughts. And your fellow leaders, who will be around 20, 30, sitting in that, heading the CXOs within the group, and listening to those and giving you the suggestions. You really sharpen the edges. You really look at it, that what kind of issues I have. Do I have an articulation issue? Do I have an understanding issue? Do I have a thought leadership issue? And how do I convince? They'll make you play a lot of role plays. You are presented to the board. You are presented to the CEO. I think that really gets that part. That's part of the training. And once you really are out of this, and it happens very periodically, and it will be put as part of your CV that what kind of training have you attended. So people know it, that if you have attended this training, you are expected to be at that level, because it is very formal in terms of assessment and all. So I think it's very important to your question, to your service, is a training needed? Answer is absolutely yes. Because there are so many open-ended problems when you are actually in the field, that you have to be trained. You can be only trained. You cannot be told that there are 100 problems and these are the 100 solutions, because the problems are new. Pandemic, nobody would have thought about that, what kind of solution I'm going to put, whether it is CIO or not a CIO. So if you really focus on those attributes as a leader, that how do we attack a problem? How do we dissect the problem? What are the solutions possible? Or how does it impact business? What is the technology aspect of it? And stakeholder management, and the market management, and the competition, and the differentiation. I think that gives that's really outside the CIO role today, if you ask me. But now the trend is that CIO is forced to look at that. How am I positioning, helping business to position in the market? Is it a differentiated offering? I think when Mr. Sethi talked about, or Mr. Sanjay Prasad talked about the leadership attributes, I would say one attribute which has gone up is taking the risks, because the risk appetite has to be high on the CIO agenda now. You can't be only talking about the proven technologies, proven models. You need to be a little different. You need to work with those startups. You need to work with those ecosystems. And then you take those steps. I'm not saying that you put whole the business at risk, but there are so many opportunities today as possible. See, there is no resource crunch today. There is all the information is available. It's only about how do you approach and take a differentiated path. As leaders, I feel these trainings are hugely helpful, immensely helpful.
Thank you. And I'll ask one last question to Rajiv. And after that, going against the practice where you summarize, I'll ask Mr. Sethi to do that because, I can just note down and, summarize. You can do it. But before that, this question to Rajiv is that, can the ecosystem or the community play a role in this? Of course, every company has to have a succession planning, but see, when many companies have the same objective, probably a collective effort pays. So is that a possibility? And I'm asking this to Rajiv, and after him, maybe if anyone else has to comment, they can also.
So definitely yes. And that we have seen, I'm part of CI AI Forum, which is doing some genuine work on healthcare. Now, as part of this forum, what we have done is that there are like-minded hospitals, and some of them are hardcore peers, competitive in the same region and across the region. What we are doing is that we are trying to build, and that problem exists for ages now, and the problem is problem for each and every hospital. And we know that unless we collectively come together and come with a solution, it will not be solved. Simple example is that the whole of the world is talking about connected hospitals, which means that like you have a number portability in the mobile, which was not there 5 years back, and we were at the mercy of air service provider. Now we want to have similar portability of patient ID, which means that, you have the advantage of doctor portability. You don't have to worry about your own doctor. So industry collectively is working on this, along with in the ecosystem, not just the hospital, but complete chain, which means you have primary healthcare hospitals, you have secondary care hospitals, you have diagnostic chains, you have pharmacies, and so on and so forth. So what's happening is that I'm of the strong opinion that if such framework I know that solution will not come within 1 year or 2 years, 3 years, but future, we will come out with a mechanism by which we will be ready to have one common interoperability between various logical information like a patient, facility, test, and so on and so forth. So yes, and I'm talking about healthcare an example, but there are definitely multiple such examples. I am aware that because as part of the same forum, we also represent AgriTech and EduTech, where similar such initiatives are on to address the industry-specific problem, not a company-specific problem. So definitely there's a need, CII, FICCI, and there are other forums in the industries.
Thank you. Anjani, you want to say something, which is has to be the last comment because you are running out of time, and then I'll go back to me.
So you have been asking us question. This question is to you. I think there is a next gen CIO program. I have written some of reference, and it is, I don't know if it is from your publication or your sister publication. So what has been the success rate of that? Like if you have selected 50 or 100, how many of them you have since getting converted to CIO? It would be interesting to know.
Yeah, so I see now we have, I think see, when we completed 10 years, I had got this data. So since then, it has been 2 more years. So I don't have that updated data. See, that number is still small. It was, I think, around, I'm not sure, I may be wrong, but maybe around 17-18%. Okay. From different, and what happened, the program started 10 years back. So naturally, most of the bulk are from the first few years. Okay. So, so it takes, because we consider anyone who has, I think, 5 or 6 years of work experience. So that's why even the potential is there. There is experience, and there is, the way it works in India. But I had asked one question in survey. I had not presented it because that was more for our internal feedback, whether we could do what logically we could do further. So that is something we are working on. I'll reach out to you. I'll personally reach out to you to get some idea, and you will only do it. We just take the name. Yeah. So
Vijay sir is already having now an idea in mentor cart based on your pointer.
Yeah.
And thank you, Shamrujan. Let me first start with what Anjani said, and I give a 30-second view on this. So why I would have been actually surprised if the success rate would have been much higher. For the simple reason that it's not just the external agencies which can really ensure that you are groomed, but the organization, the culture, the HR, the manager, and the individual himself or herself also has to play a huge role in that. External agency can only give you inputs up to a point in time. But beyond that, the individual has to take his or her career forward along with HR and manager. And I think that's the reason why many of these guys would not have reached, though the program would have tried to do its best. So that would be my just be an outsider view from the program. I don't know the details of the program. Now, coming back, thank you very much. And it was a good surprise from your side that you wanted me to summarize the entire thing. So how I see is that most of the organization, and the way you started was fantastic, that 48 out of 52, 54 were not internal candidates, which means the organizations are not really giving a huge focus on either succession planning, or even if they are giving focus on succession planning, perhaps they do not find the internal candidates to be ready at this point in time to be the CIOs. So which brings a focus back onto the organization, to the HR, to the individual, and to the manager, that you should try to build your own internal resources, because at the end of the day, because of the culture, because of other aspects, internal candidates actually, and they look at this as a career growth, it really helps the organization. While one should, it doesn't mean that one shouldn't get external candidates. To my mind, it should be a healthy mix, that maybe 30-40% companies get a new CIO, and 30-40-50%, 60% companies should groom a person from within. And outside CIOs could be international CIOs also, which to my mind is a good point that you said, and the way Sanjay put it, that now the compensation also is not very, very different. But in this entire thing, I think the key thing is the role that the individual himself or herself plays. And the second is the organization and the HR plays, or the manager plays, in grooming the leadership skills. Because most of the times, a lot of IT people, when they want to groom themselves, they just focus on all the new tech. Whereas as you move into the CXO, the moment the C part comes into your title, you have to forget some part of tech and get into the leadership part. And that, to my mind, would be where the programs that like you conduct. And one of the things which companies can do, very practical thing companies can do, or the CIOs or managers can do to groom their people, is to put them on CFPs, cross-functional teams, or second them on to some other department for a month, 2 months, so that let them learn. So let them go to a dealer, spend 15 days at the dealership, go to a plant, spend 15 days, understand the business, and then come back, and then they become a 360-degree managers.
See, some companies, I think, do that for the CIOs, not for the next level people.
Yeah, that's why they become the factories of the future leaders. I didn't say just a factory of CIOs, but they are the guys who actually become CXO factories in the country. I
think that was a great summarization and great end to a very, very interesting discussion. So I asked a basic question and some from survey, but the insight that came out, convinces me that something we are planning will come back to you with that. Is that hopefully we should. In fact, I asked a question in that survey. Some of you have answered around next 100. I didn't want to tell it to the whole world because that's like talking too much about yourself. But definitely we owe our existence to the community. So we'll definitely do whatever possible. And thank a lot of you, Vijay sir. He has been a jury member for I think 5-6 times or something like that, right? You in all these years.
10, 12 years.
Yeah. So and thanks for a very, very interesting discussion and sparing your time on a Saturday afternoon. My sincere thanks once again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.